Welcome to Serious Software's e-commerce training series. In today's video, we will be discussing how to access and log into the stores. Store access is given to customers in one of two ways. The first one we'll be demoing today is through Control, through your CRM and through Explore Companies or Explore Contacts. I'll be adding a contact to Test Company in our example today. But one thing to note is emails have to be unique with inside your system, both in contacts and employee setup. So if before you add a contact to a company record, do a search on their email. Just make sure there's not already a email address registered for them, and do any cleanup necessary, any merging of companies or deleting of contacts or updating of contacts prior to trying to give the person a store login. Today we're going to be adding one to Test Company, so I'm going to open the company inside of Control. I'm going to make sure I'm in edit mode on my right hand toolbar, and I'm going to navigate to my Contacts tab. On my Contacts tab, I could edit an existing contact if that was who I was looking for, or I can add a new contact. I need to add their first and last name, and I need to add their email address. If this is an employee inside of your business who wants to be a contact, their email address is probably already registered in employee setup. Most emails support an alias type concept, which is a plus sign or some kind of symbol and then another word behind it. So either test or ecom or e-commerce or maybe the storefront name. All can be used to make serious e-commerce think you're entering a unique email, but you're actually using an email that has already been registered inside the system. The last option we need to look at inside of Control is our Serious Connector Login tab. We want to enable our login for cloud apps, and you'll see it'll pull in our email address as our login name, and we'll give them a temporary password. It's always encouraged that they reset their password once you send them the information. And a slight deviation from the message on the screen, because e-commerce can take credit cards, it is a bit more secure. You're looking at a password of a minimum of 8 characters, alphanumeric, and usually 1 capital letter and a number. Once you save the contact, you'll notice that the password clears out. That doesn't mean it didn't save. Again, PCI compliance just means that we don't store their password in open text or any way that someone can potentially get to it. So once you've saved it, it has created that login as long as you've done your previous cleanup of your CRM database. Once we've created our login in Control, we want to take it to our store and we want to try to log in as them. Majority of the reason for this is about store access. If you're not logging into your primary store with their account information, you want to control what store they have access to. Now, my account has already been registered for this training website, so it is going to log me in. However, you might see a message on your screen that looks like an error message, and it just says "See System Administrator for access." What that means is in your admin panel, you need to come to Contacts. You need to find the email address you're trying to register. And then at the bottom in the store access section, you need to make sure they have access to the store you want them to give access to. My example is my login here is an example of an employee login. An employee might have the same email address across multiple stores, whereas a customer might only have registration for a single store. The second way of creating an account is actually using e-commerce's create an account function. Depending on your permissions in my store, kind of controls how this page works. The page could just be a strict email and password login screen, which is assuming that you're giving the all your customers logins to the store. And then the other option would be to show both. Do I already have an account or am I creating an account on the store? A lot of the reason to have it locked down to not let have someone register on the store is more so in the private store sector where you want to control where that person goes into your CRM. This might be because you're allowing them to pay on an account and it needs to go into a specific record inside of control, maybe for their credits or the payment terms or how they pay bills. And you want to make sure that 100% they're logged into the correct company. That is the most correct way to make sure that they are going to be logged to the correct company if that is the case and we have CRM issues or questions about how they'll get logged. If we look at the Get Account a page, you'll see that they need to provide an email address, a company name, first and last name, and a password in the default configuration. Again, this default configuration is a little bit more driven by the private site concept where they are going to have a company that they will be providing you with information for. Control will try to look up a company as long as they enter it the same way that it is inside of Control. If they abbreviate anything, add a dash, remove a dash, create an extra space, Control will think of those as separate companies and it will make a separate company inside of the database. It will usually be a prospect until they place their first order. However, you could merge them at a later time and date if you saw that it got diverged. The last part of this video we want to look at is some of our options for how to configure our logins for our stores. So if we navigate in our admin panel back to My Stores and we open our store, we're going to stay on the Store Detail tab, and what we'll be talking about is the Security and New Account Registration sections. The first option is for Required User Login. This means that the login page will be the first page of your Ecom store experience. They can't see anything about products or pricing until they log in to the store. Enable Public Sign-up allows the option for the Get account on the store. If you have that enabled, and with the idea that it's still a semi-private store, I can restrict the email domain. In this case, I might restrict it to @serious.com or @serious.net in my ability to say that only anything that ends in those email addresses can register for this store. Allow site to be searchable. While not a login feature, it is whether or not Google can search your site or other search engines can search your site, index them, and drive traffic to your store. Then on our new account registration settings, you can say whether the company is required or not. If it is checked, which it would be by default, they would have to provide a company name in order to register an account. If you uncheck it, the company would still show up on the screen. It's just no longer required in that setting. So they could provide one if they wanted to, but they wouldn't be required to. If company is required, you can restrict a company to a certain list of companies. Again, a semi-private type of idea where you may want to go ahead and tell them, here's a list of companies you can register for. This concludes today's video about accessing and logging into the stores. If you have any additional questions, please join us on the e-commerce webinar or email us at ecommerce@serious.com. Thanks. Have a great day.